Good morning from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant, and we welcome you to Kentucky Newsmakers, and certainly hope you're enjoying your weekend. Lexington Mayor Linda Gorton is our primary guest today, and there is a lot to catch up on. COVID numbers are climbing again as we enter August. Cases are 10 times as high as they were when July started. Violence in Lexington has led to the news and being on the front pages in recent months many times as the city is dealing with a record rate of shootings and homicides. What is being done to try to turn that around? Lexington is getting more money from the American Rescue Plan. We'll ask the mayor how she hopes to put that to use or the input she's seeking. And a study is looking at Nicholasville Road and the traffic gridlock out there. It's been a challenge for decades, but it's getting even busier. And progress continues on Central Bank Center and the Town Branch Commons Park and Trail system that will bring a strip of the bluegrass right through downtown Lexington. So a lot to discuss with Lexington Mayor Linda Gorton, and we welcome you. It's good to see you, and good to have you back in studio for the first time.
Thank you. Good to see you, Bill. Not on Zoom.
Exactly. And you're back to meetings at City Hall,
Yes.
and that must feel better.
Yes.
But Mayor, you know, things were looking so encouraging in the pandemic and getting things under control. Now this Delta variant certainly has upended things again, started pushing the numbers up and the level of concern back up. Will the new guidance that is now coming from the CDC and the state, with all of that out there, does that change your outlook on how the city is dealing with things, or recommendations for schools and so forth?
Well, it's interesting. Fayette County is the third highest vaccinated county in Kentucky. And of course, vaccines are a key. They're the key. And here in Fayette, we are, for people 18 and over, we are 67.7% fully vaccinated. Now that's almost 70. Remember when everybody talked about herd immunity being around 70%? 98% of our seniors are fully vaccinated, 98%. So we need to keep that up. I mean, that has not changed for me. People need to keep getting vaccinated. We're still going door to door and canvassing and having those neighborhood clinics. And of course, we are internally discussing what we'll do about masking now that the governor's recommendations and his action at state government occurred.
You had some people working from home. Does that re-enter the picture?
Well, we have not discussed that right now. We had several hundred working from home during the height of the pandemic, and it worked very well for us. We know it's possible now, and we have a few people who have stayed working remotely. That's on a division by division basis within government. So, you know, these are the kind of decisions that we take one at a time based on the advice we get from the CDC and from Dr. Humbaugh here at the Fayette County Health Department.
What has this past year and a half been like to be, in charge of city government and to have all of these issues out there, and there were other things beyond the pandemic that arose during that time that were up for discussion. How has that been?
Well, one visual would be a roller coaster ride. Yeah. You know, we had everything from purely dealing with the pandemic, the health crisis. We had the economic piece. We've had the social unrest piece. And you remember in February we had an ice storm, a snowstorm, a sleet storm.
Sure.
So, you know, I said to my husband one day, we might as well just throw it all in there. And he said, don't say that.
Yeah, a parking garage
but it
collapse.
Has been, I have a fabulous team. And it's all about the team and how we work together to figure out what the next best step is.
So again, it appears Lexington is really starting to bustle again. Certainly the restaurants are back busy, and some of the businesses and stores. Do you have concerns that there could be a setback on the horizon?
Well, our economy is going great guns right now, and we are back to our pre-pandemic unemployment levels. We're just below 4% unemployment. That's really good. And that's where we were before we went into the pandemic. So there are always concerns because in Lexington and Fayette County, our economy is driven by jobs, and our government is funded mostly by the revenues that they create and generate, and so we're always looking at the best ways to help the economy from the government perspective. And we did a lot of that along the way during the pandemic. We have helped businesses in many different ways, starting with that, seems like a long time ago, we allowed restaurants to start serving on patios, parking lots. They went out into the street a little bit. And we did various things throughout the year to help our businesses. I think they were all very important to keeping our economy as strong as it could be during the pandemic. And of course, we helped people, so.
The programs to protect people from evictions and to help landlords as well are ending. It appears that, at least going into this weekend, that nothing was going to change on that. At this point, is there anything the city can do to assist, and are there places people can reach out if they're in a crisis situation as far as their home?
Yes, all along the way, we have had a healthy, robust financial component to the help that we give people who are facing eviction, and we still have several $1 million available that we continue to award. Now, people have to meet certain criteria in order to get that money, and it actually, we work with the landlords because the money goes toward paying rent to them. If I could say our website for people who need help, it's lexingtonky.gov/rent-help, and we are committed to helping our folks who are in need, who may face eviction. We have people in court with the judges and with the people who are facing eviction to help them and take it as far as we can with that piece too.
On the long-term home affordability issue, home prices keep climbing in Lexington. The Board of Realtors has been pushing for some options for maybe some more development and subdivisions, and we all know the balance in Lexington, certainly, right, with development and the horse farms and the beauty of the region. Has it reached a point, though, where something might have to give?
Well, Bill, the interesting thing that people don't talk about is this is not just Lexington, it's across the country. And we have talked with cities who don't have growth boundaries and don't have heavy balance between agriculture and urban, and they still have this issue of home prices going up. It is a nationwide phenomena. So we have put in my budget, which the council approved this, we put more money in for affordable housing. It's very important that our people who cannot afford to purchase a home or rent a home, who are on that lower end of the income spectrum, have the ability to do so. So we are still putting a healthy amount of money into the affordable housing piece, which helps all of that. But this is it's a it's a mixed bag. We don't want housing prices to go down here for us to be losing value. That's a negative. So we're looking across the country at what other cities are doing also.
The American Rescue Plan Act is bringing Lexington considerable money. How will that one-time money be allocated? Are you listening to the public on that, or do you have some ideas?
We absolutely are listening to the public. That's always important. So we will receive a total of about $120 million, half of it this year, half of it next year. And there are very specific guidelines. In general, it's meant to help people because of the things that happened during the pandemic. And so helping those most impacted. So there are a lot of rules that we're following, and we have gone to the community. If people go on our website, lexingtonky.gov/ ARPA, they can take our survey. We are looking forward to hearing from the public, and we've heard from about over 1,500 people already. And that survey will close toward the end of August. We want to know what the public thinks.
I mean, there was some proposal about doing something out at Shiloh Park as far as an aquatic center. Is that still in play as a possibility?
That was discussed and presented to the council, and they have not made any decisions on it. You know, there are a lot of things like that. I have proposed a senior center / therapeutic center, which we don't have one of those. And we have all kinds of proposals which could fit in the different categories. Now, because this is federal money, we have to do a lot of documentation. So we're looking for sustainable projects that will have an impact for the future. We are not looking at $500 plantings here and $1,000 plantings there. We're looking at significant projects that will impact people.
And when you do a project, are you considering, you know, the long-term maintenance? Because this money,
yes,
it comes in and it's gone, right?
Well, this is one of our guidelines. I worked with some leaders in my administration with the vice mayor and the chair and vice chair of budget and finance on the council to craft the process. And one of our guidelines is one-time money. So this needs to be a project that will not create a cost going forward, and that will be a positive in terms of revenues. So there are a lot of things to think about in how best to use the money.
We're with Lexington Mayor Linda Gorton, and the next discussion may be the toughest. We're coming back in a moment. We'll talk about the violence in Lexington, the issue that has been, looking for solutions. We'll be back on Kentucky Newsmakers in a moment. Welcome back to WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Violence has been a tough problem in recent months in Lexington. The Herald-Leader reported in July that gang violence is behind many of the shootings out there. Lexington Mayor Linda Gorton is continuing with us here on Kentucky Newsmakers. I know you have pushed the One Lexington initiative. Do you think that will bring results?
I do. I recently hired Divine Karama to be my director of One Lexington. One Lexington is totally focused on youth and violence and intervention and prevention. And, you know, last night at the Public Safety Forum that we had, it was Divine Karama, Chief Lawrence Weathers, and myself. And he noted all of the partnerships that he has going on, people he's working with youth. And, you know, it's quite a lengthy list. And the issue with violence is it's very complicated. Lexington's growing. We continue, even during the pandemic, to grow. And, you know, the bigger the city gets, the more potential there is for issues like this. And some of the good news is that this year we've had about 12.6% fewer random shootings than we did last year. Now, we look at those kinds of statistics and we say, oh, that's a good thing. Now, if the shooting is in your neighborhood,
right,
you don't care about the statistic,
and
right?
And the homicides are on a record pace.
The homicides are going up. And we do know, you mentioned the gang violence, we do know about the connection between the Chicago people and the Detroit people, and the police are really focused on that because we're situated where we're right at two interstates. And it's very easy for the negative influences and the people to come in from other places. Not only do they bring guns, they bring drugs. And so this One Lexington initiative is going to be, Divine's kind of ramping it up. He'll start working with Cities United very soon, and they are all about community violence and intervention of that.
We come in, Mayor, so often in the mornings, and there's been another shooting or two or
Yes.
three, and it's buildings and bullets into cars and unfortunately all too often people. What do you think when you hear those reports?
Well, I'm distressed, of course. I don't want our community to be an unsafe place. And we focus a lot on safety. I've said before, if we don't have a safe community, the rest of it, the arts, the parks, the fun, the quality of life, if you're not safe, those things don't matter as much. So it does concern me. I work very closely with the chief and the police and Divine and the other folks who are working on all of this, and we're determined to make a difference.
Poverty was cited as a major contributing factor at the first of these meetings that you held. Do you think that is a contributing part of it?
Oh, I definitely think it is. It's not all about guns. It's about poverty. It's about having enough to eat. It's about having a shelter, a permanent shelter over your head. Those are kind of the systemic things that need, and we're giving them a lot of attention. And, if you think about youth, for example, if they're hungry, they're not going to be able to concentrate on the normal things that youth would want to concentrate on. And so poverty is one of those. We've recently opened our Work Lex Center at the Charles Young Center, that's job training and workforce. And things like that are going to make a big difference.
The FOP has cited some statistics, including FBI recommendations that a city of Lexington size should have about 900 sworn police officers. The authorized strength is closer to 600 here, and there are a lot of vacancies. Is there a plan to address that in what some believe is a shortage of officers on the street?
Well, in my current budget that was passed by the council, I put 2 recruit classes, and each class has about 40 to 45 recruits in it. This is police. And I also expanded the authorization to add 6 new officers. They are specifically the neighborhood resource officers. Lexington went to community policing long before many other cities did. And what these neighborhood resource officers do is they specialize, if you will, in a neighborhood. So they work in that neighborhood, they know the people who live there, they know the business owners, they know the crime, they know the issues. It's very effective policing. And the other thing that we have done is we have crafted a partnership with New Vista. New Vista provides mental health, counseling, emergency intervention, that sort of thing. And so when our police are called to the scene and they realize this is probably a mental health issue that they need to deal with, they can call New Vista and they partner with them. We've added social workers. This is not the kind of policing that was 30 or 40 years ago. It's much
Would you say
different.
it has evolved even over the last year since
yes.
the social
Yes.
unrest that we spoke of earlier?
Yes, we are in the middle of getting going on our violence program with the physicians at the emergency room at UK. I mean, all kinds of new and different things where, gunshot wound victim comes in, they have someone, the surgeon or the doctor can contact immediately to get this process going where they get on a track that's a better track and they get the services they need.
There's a study group looking at Nicholsville Road traffic,
Yes.
as has been the case for decades. The population growth, as you say, if a city's not growing, it's dying, so you want that, certainly. But on the south end of town and out around the Jessamine County line, the traffic is often gridlocked. What do you expect them to come forth with in terms of any solutions?
Well, I drive Nicholsville Road into work every single day.
Right.
And of course, I love the reversed lanes because they move a lot of traffic. Now, Lexington's trying to get people to use alternative transportation, and one of the recommendations, I believe, is going to be dedicated bus lane. Now, the issue with that, from my perspective, and I've ridden the buses before, they're clean, they're efficient, they're on time, Lextran does a great job. I live a mile from there, so I would need to walk a mile to catch the bus. So from my perspective, that one issue will not really be fixed until the buses can go into the neighborhoods and get the people who live 3/4 or a mile from the bus. And so it's tricky that way. You know, that bus lane would take away the reversible, they would take away the reversible lanes more than likely.
So you know the history. You
Yes.
don't look at some of these, some of the big, there was a crosstown connector proposal back some years ago that would go from downtown to sort of behind Fayette Mall and over to Jessamine County, and it was determined that the property acquisition would be just impossible on that. There was talk of an outer loop that would maybe go through other counties. There's been talk of a connection between Jessamine County and I-75.
Yes.
Those things, are those part of the solution?
Well, the Nicholasville Road issue, I think, is kind of its own separate thing because of so many people coming back and forth from Jessamine County. And it's kind of its own special problem, if you will.
All right, more study on that. All right, exciting things with the Central Bank Center, which is now, looking to be like more of a landmark, and the Town Branch Commons also.
Yes, Central Bank Center. If you haven't driven downtown to see it coming along, people need to do that. It's due to be finished around the 1st of next year. 2022, and it's very exciting. It's it expands the capability for conferences, for shows, garden shows, Comic-Con, any kind of show.
Yeah.
And so it will bring in lots and lots of people, which we really like that, it's part of our tourism. And then the Town Branch Commons Trail is really coming along. If people have driven Vine Street, they know that we've completed a lot of it along Vine Street. We're now working really heavily on Midland, and so it will all connect up, eventually, and that will not be finished till a little bit later. I think it's maybe early 23, possibly. But it will be, people already use the part that's finished. I've seen walkers, I've seen bikers. People are enjoying it already.
The Bryant trail that keeps moving out with the bridge across the Man of War.
Yes, and this, of course, will connect the Legacy Trail with the Town Branch Trail, and we'll have those 22 miles of continuous trail.
All right. The 2022 filing deadline is just over 5 months away. Are you running again?
Well, wouldn't you ask? This job has been a great fit for me, and even in a pandemic, which is interesting. So I'm thinking about it right now, what my decision will be.
We all hear there's a possibility that former Mayor Jim Gray may be interested in running again. Could you foresee a potential campaign against him? You were allies for years.
I think we still are allies. In politics, anything can happen, right? But he's a friend and an ally, and I don't know what his decisions will be, but it'll all be okay in the end, right?
You'll let us know what yours is.
I'll let you know what I decide.
Mayor, thank you for coming by. We appreciate it very much. Stay with us. We'll be back on WKYT's Kentucky Newsmakers. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers. The U.S. is making some big changes overseas. President Biden says the U.S. combat mission in Iraq will end this year. Our chief national political analyst, Greta Van Susteren, explains.
Hello, I'm Greta Van Susteren, and here is your full court fast break. a major shift in the relationship between the U.S. and Iraq. This week, President Biden announcing the United States will end its combat mission in Iraq by the end of 2021.
Our role in Iraq will be as a dealing with it's just to be available to continue to train, to assist, to help, and to deal with ISIS as it arrives. But we are not going to be by the end of the year in a combat mission.
Unfortunately, the battle against ISIS is not over. Iraqi forces are still looking for Islamic State fighters. On one of my trips to this war zone in 2017, I took these photos. They give you a glimpse of the viciousness of war and of ISIS. ISIS destroyed homes simply because the residents were not members of ISIS, and then they marked them with their sign. This Catholic church was taken over by ISIS for headquarters and then desecrated, burned. ISIS did the unthinkable to the Iraqi people and their children. And although the U.S. combat mission will soon be over, the Pentagon says troops will stay in the country to help advise and train the Iraqi military. Our nation owes a debt of gratitude to all the men and women who have courageously served in Iraq, and also to their families. Want more Full Court Press? Tune in Sundays. We bring politics home, covering the national stories that impact you.
Reminder that you can catch Full Court Press with Greta Van Susteren at 11:30 this morning on WKYT. Well, that's Kentucky Newsmakers. Thank you so much for being with us today, and we certainly hope that you make it a good week ahead.